There we go. So we got someone coming in here. I'm gonna mute you guys for now. At the end, I'll open it up for if people got questions, then feel free to unmute yourself, or if you have a question, you can chat it or type it in the chat box as well.
Okay.
So I'm gonna mute everyone and let's get going. I hope people will trickle in as they come. So there we go. Okay, so the goal tonight obviously is teach you guys how to read your own blood work. We're gonna talk about a specific part of the blood work, but I want to make it easy for people to be able to look at their own tests and get an idea of what's going on. And what we're going to look at are things that often in the medical world unfortunately get ignored, or they just don't look close enough. And so we're gonna go through 5 specific markers. So we'll get to that. So goals, just teach you the 5 markers that are in your regular normal blood work that may be the key to fixing things in your health. If you got chronic things going on, often these markers can really give us a good idea of why we have chronic issues going on. It's going to give you actionable information that you can use right away if you have your blood work, and you can really start to get to the root of things. And the biggest thing is give you control over your own health. I'm a big fan of, I really want people to take over their health, because often right now, our medical world is failing a lot of people. Unfortunately, healthcare is getting worse as we're getting sicker. So I want people to be able to take care of it themselves. Disclaimer, this is for education. Obviously, having said that, consult with whoever your healthcare provider is before you take on any new medical plans. Okay. So this is me. I'm Dr. Richard Huntsman. I'm a chiropractic physician. I'm in practice here in Afton for the past 4 years. I've been in practice for a little over 8 years. I have a master's degree in functional medicine and nutrition. I've studied blood chemistry for thousands of hours over the last 15 years or so. That's my family there. I got a wife and 4 kids, and we live here in Star Valley for the past few years, and we love it here. Big thing we're going to talk about is stealth infections. So stealth infections are at the root of a lot of chronic issues. So I'm going to show you the 5 markers that I look at when I'm looking for these underlying infections. So what are stealth infections? They're persistent or chronic infections that hide from the immune system. Basically, they just hide there, give our immune system trouble, make it so our immune system is fighting that, and then maybe our immune system can't fight off something else. Or maybe the immune system isn't fighting these at all, and they're just sitting there causing us problems. So symptoms can be mild with these so that we don't really notice them, or they can be moderate or even severe. And it just leads to ongoing inflammation and health issues. Here's some of the causes. As you can see, this is a big list, and it's not even close to exhaustive, but Lyme disease is one a lot of people have heard of, Epstein-Barr, many viruses, parasites, mold, candida, streptococcus, any of these bacteria and viruses, they can be residing in us causing problems, and we don't know that we have these going on. Mycoplasma is one that I see a lot. The hard part is they're hard to test for. If we want to test for viruses, there are 30 some thousand viruses that are harmful to humans. So pinning it down isn't always easy. So we want to know if we're suffering from one of these, then we know what to do about it. And we'll get to that. Symptoms of stealth infections, you name it, it can be a symptom. I put some of a list here. Fatigue is a big one. People that suffer with chronic fatigue often have a stealth infection. Headaches, digestive issues, muscle aches, pains, weight gain, inability to lose weight, food sensitivities, blood sugar issues. Like I said, just about anything you can think of can be a symptom of a stealth infection. So how do we spot these? This is where the blood work comes in. We look to the white blood cells. This is a quote from Lord Kelvin, physicist back in the 1800s. If you don't measure it, you can't improve it. That's why I'm a big fan of blood work, because then we really get a good idea of what's going on underneath. So this is the test that we're going to be talking about tonight. It's called a complete blood count with differential, or CBC with diff is how you'll see it on your blood work. This is a standard blood panel. Most times when your doctor runs blood work, they will add this in. It's a cheap blood panel. If people don't have it, I can usually get it for them for about $20. It's very inexpensive, and it can tell us a lot. So what the CBC really is it measures the different cells in your blood. So it differentiates the red blood cells from the white blood cells, and then measures parts of those as well. We're going to focus on the white blood cells tonight. Again, part of a routine checkup. A lot of times we're looking at anemias in that test. We're looking for infections and other immune issues. So these are the main white blood cells. These are the 5 that we're going to focus on. The neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Okay, these will usually be listed out. That's what the with differential part means in the blood test, is that they have differentiated the different types of these white blood cells. We're going to start with the neutrophils. These are the most prevalent. It's this immune system's first line of defense against any infection. The neutrophils are the front line. They get sent out to take care of an infection. Viruses, parasites, bacteria, whatever it is, neutrophils go after them. Now, this is where the ranges get a little different. So a lab range is the range you will see on your blood work. They say 40 to 60%. I want to see it between 45 and 55%. So my range is tighter. So that's where the optimal range is. Okay, so 45 to 55% is where we want to see our neutrophils. So when you look at your neutrophils, if it's out of that range, then we need to know why. So if it's low neutrophils indicates B12 deficiency or a copper deficiency generally. Those are pretty straightforward. So if we see neutrophils low, now we wouldn't want to base it entirely off the neutrophils for something like a B12 deficiency. Then we'd look at other markers, but that is one reason why the neutrophils can be low. High neutrophils is what we'll often see with an active infection. And typically when we're talking neutrophils, we're talking bacterial infection. Okay. Now, when we're talking lymphocytes, they're our second most prevalent. And there's 2 types. We've got the T cells, which control the body's response. And we've got the B cells, which make antibodies to target the microbes, to target the bacteria, to target the viruses. Now, again, when we look at the ranges here, the lab range of lymphocytes, 20 to 40%. Optimal range, 25 to 35%. Again, so we're tighter on that range. So if we're, at 38, 39%, the lab's going to tell us we're normal. But for me, that's on the high end. So then it gets me thinking, all right, what is going on? What is driving up the lymphocytes? Or if we're too low, again, what is driving them down? Generally, low lymphocytes mean we're deficient in zinc. And a zinc deficiency often goes with an infection because zinc is used in the immune system to help fight infections. Now, if we're high in lymphocytes, again, we're looking at an active infection. Typically, this will be a viral infection. Okay, the T cells are going to be going after the viruses. And so that's the differentiation between the neutrophils and the lymphocytes. If neutrophils are high, we think bacterial. If lymphocytes are high, we think viral. Okay. And again, it could just be right at that 40-ish%. That's technically within the range, but that's why we call them stealth infections. They're not causing a major immune response, but they're there and we need to address them. The other things that can cause lymphocytes to be elevated would be low cortisol. So if we're highly stressed and our cortisol is burning out, that can drive it up. And then also autoimmune conditions tend to drive up our lymphocytes. If our lymphocytes and our neutrophils are about the same, like they're both around 40%, or maybe we got the lymphocytes at 40 and the neutrophils at whatever, 45, where they're close to the same. We also think autoimmune in that condition as well. And autoimmune is a whole different can of worms that we won't go down tonight. But the next one, monocytes. So monocytes, they're made in the bone marrow, and they're just they help us fight pathogens. The other thing that they do that I didn't put on here is they really help a lot with allergies. Once the monocytes get out of the blood, their name actually changes, and they're one of the major fighters against allergies. So they produce histamine and things like, well, they produce the cells that produce histamine. Optimal range and lab range are pretty close here. Lab range 2 to 8. I like to see in between 3 and 7. Low monocytes, we're looking for anemias. Different types of anemia will cause that, or severe injury. If we've got a lot of blood loss going on, and it'll drive down a lot of them, but monocytes in particular, we will see low if we've got chronic bleeding or something like that. If our monocytes are high, again, allergies is the first thing we look at. Do we have a histamine response going on? Autoimmune disorders will raise it, like RA in particular, does raise up our monocytes. And then infection, just in general, monocytes help out with infections. So if I see neutrophils and monocytes high, again, we'd be thinking infection. And inflammation will drive up monocytes as well. Okay, next one, eosinophils. These ones, big part for these also are involved in allergies, but parasites is really what I look at when we're talking eosinophils. I had a young lady come in not that long ago who's been having digestive issues for a long time and had been to many doctors. No one could figure it out. And I glanced at her blood work, and her eosinophils were around an 8, I think, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And I just looked at her and said, "You got parasites." And no one had ever looked at that. We put her on a parasite cleanse, and within a month, her digestive issues were gone that she had for years. And all it took was looking at the eosinophils. And so this one, the range is quite a bit tighter. Lab range 0 to 6. I want it around 3 and 4. I don't see these low very often, but often I will see them high. And parasites aren't the only thing that will drive them up. Allergies obviously is one. But yeah, low eosinophils, we're usually talking alcohol. Alcohol will drive it down if we're a heavy drinker, or high cortisol. So again, that high stress before the adrenals burn out can drive the eosinophils down. High eosinophils, the first thing that I will look at is allergies. Are we having big allergy response? Are we dealing with a bunch of hay fever? That type of stuff. That would be the first I would look at. But if they're not, and they're having digestive issues or headaches or these other things that can suggest parasite, then I'm going after a parasite. Fungal infection, eczema will also cause it up. Eczema goes with the allergies. But yeah, parasite and allergies, those are the two to think of with the eosinophils. And the last one is basophils. Basophils are the least abundant white blood cell, mainly, again, responsible for allergies. They're the only white blood cell that actually carries histamine with them. So they go around and they'll secrete histamine to help with allergies. So these, we really don't want to see much of them, less than 1%. Lab range, optimal range, the same there. So if they're driven up, we're thinking allergies. If they're low, again, acute injury can do it, but low for them is hard because we want them less than 1. So I really don't worry about low. Mostly we're looking, if the basophils are at like a 3, 4, I've seen them as high as like 10, 11%, then we're talking allergies. And some people will have chronically elevated basophils if they had real bad allergies as a kid, real bad hay fever that way. Sometimes they'll just forever have higher basophils. So, but most of the time we're talking allergies, but infection and inflammation will also drive them up. So let's recap. Neutrophils are the most abundant. Neutrophils, the range, and I put just the optimal ranges here. And again, I will send you guys these slides, so you'll have this to look at when you go look at your blood work. 50 to 60% is where we want to see the neutrophils. I feel like I wrote that number wrong. I did. I based these on two different sets of notes. I want it 45 to 50%. I will fix this before I send this to you guys. I want it 45 to 55%. When they're high, we're talking bacterial infection. That's generally what we're looking at. If they're low, copper or B12 is low, or among other things. Lymphocytes. Again, I wrote the wrong numbers there. I should have proofread. 35 to 45% on that one. Again, I'll fix these before I email them to you. Viral infection on those, if they're high, that's what we're looking at. If it's low, usually it's a zinc deficiency. Okay, monocytes, generally want them less than 6. I think 3 to 6. Allergies is going to drive them out. Eosinophils, we want them in the 3 to 4 range. Allergies, parasites, those are the things we're looking at with the eosinophils. Basophils, if they're high, we're looking at allergies typically, but inflammation will also do it. Again, basophils, we want them less than 1, so they shouldn't be around very much. Allergies are the primary driver of them. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. When you really get looking at this, it'll just be there. Sometimes with your blood work, they won't actually give you the percentages. If that's the case, you just got to calculate the percentages yourself. If you run into that, shoot me an email. All you have to do is take the white blood cells, the total, and then you divide that into the total neutrophils, and that'll give you a percentage. Times it by 100. Just middle school percentage math, right? That we all forget and have to relearn how to do. But usually they'll put the percentage on there. If they don't, it's a pretty easy calculation. You just take the total neutrophils, divide it by the total white blood cells, total lymphocytes divided by the total white blood cells. So what do we do about it is the question, right? So now we know the issues, or we know how to spot them, at least get an idea. What do we do about it? I'm a big fan of herbal. In my clinic, when I'm working with people, I'm usually using herbals on things like this. So bacteria, and some of these interplay. Some of these can be used across the board, but I do have things that I look for generally. So bacteria, I like oregano oil. I use a concentrated pill form, or you can use a doTERRA or one of those that can be taken as well. Elderberry works really well on bacteria. And then golden thread is another one that I really like. And these are all ones that you can get kind of anywhere. I have certain brands that I like, but it doesn't, as long as you're getting a good brand, it doesn't really matter. Viruses, my favorite is Camu. That one's not real well known. It's one of the most potent sources of vitamin C out there. It's a berry. It doesn't taste great. My son actually, and this is kind of how one of the ways I helped my son stop having seizures. His seizures ended up being a viral infection that got into his brain. And that was how I was first introduced to Camu. I used Camu on him for about a year to get his seizures gone. But he hated the taste. He hated to take it. And when we ran out of the capsules, he really wasn't happy about that. But so the Camu for viruses. Golden thread also works on viruses. Parasites. Now, if I really suspect a strong parasite infection, we get a lot more aggressive on parasites. They are hard to kill. With the right products, they will be taken care of. But parasites, they're notorious for you kill them all, but you didn't kill the eggs. So then the parasites hatch again. Or, there's so many, they get real embedded in and you just struggle to get them all. So I put people on a complete protocol for parasites. It's through a company called Cellcore. They are top of the top when it comes to parasite programs. So that's about the only company I'll mention here. But they really are the best when it comes to that. But other things do help. Morinda is an herbal that can help, and Mimosa pudica seed. That's not one that's very common in the States. Cellcore actually was one of the first ones to really bring it over here, but it's really good. It's a good general gut one, but really good at parasites, getting them out of there. I put a couple others because we did talk about inflammation a bit. If we're dealing with inflammation, fish oil is one of my go-to with pro-resolving mediators. So that's a specific type of fish oil where they concentrate it so it's really targeting inflammation. But again, inflammation is a symptom, right? We want to manage inflammation, but better, we want to get to the root of the inflammation. And that can be these bacterial, virus, parasite infections can be what's causing the inflammation. So I like to address the root, but in the meantime, we like to help kind of put the fire out a bit, working on the inflammation. Then allergies, things that I like, Malia, Camu Camu again. Camu Camu works well on allergies. Oh, there's another product specific. Antranex is a standard process product, really good for allergies. Most of the people that come into my clinic getting help on allergies, I put them on Antranex. And humic and fulvic acid, those work well. You can get those kind of anywhere. It's basically they're basically dirt, but they work really well on helping the liver clean out and help digestive health. So that's pretty much it. I'll go back to this recap, but again, I will fix these numbers. Apparently I didn't proofread this slide, but when you know the ranges, you can get a lot of information about your health. I can't tell you how many people I've looked at these and I say, you have a latent or a low level viral infection. Let's address that. We address it and their headaches go away, or we address it and their anxiety gets better. Whatever it is, I don't treat anxiety. I don't treat depression or any of these things. I help unhealthy people get healthy. And when we are getting healthy, the many symptoms will clear up. And again, the people just aren't looking close enough. And so that's why I want you to be able to look at your own blood work. And when your doctor says your tests are normal, and then you say, well, doc, why do I still feel awful? This is at least one avenue you can look into and say, oh, okay, my monocytes are out of range. Maybe this is a histamine thing or an autoimmune thing I got going on. It at least gives you some direction of where you can go with your health. Having said that, I do programs with people, obviously. I have 90 days. I usually work with people for 90 days up to 180 when we're working on things like this. I have self-guided programs that I work people through. Or I have custom protocol where we order a bunch of blood work, get a comprehensive look at your system, and then we do a personalized supplement plan to fix whatever's going on and really get to the root of the issues. As you see this wheel around the outside, the inner wheel is kind of the main things we need to work on, or where things can go wrong, but it's all these things on the outside that cause us issues, the infections, toxins, deficiencies, all these things. And so I do help people with complete protocols as well when they need it. Here's pictures, people that have gone through these programs. These women were mainly focused on weight loss, but also low energy, anxiety, chronic fatigue. And when we work on a complete protocol together, a lot of these things cleared up. That's pretty much it. It's pretty simple when you really know what to do. This is me again. Here's my contact info. Please feel free to email me. If you're local, which I think most of us are local here, we can always, work in the clinic. I do virtual consultations as well. My Calendly link is there for free consult, or I do free consults in my clinic. Now I'll open it up. Does anyone have any specific questions? Anything I confused you on? Anything that way? Feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat box.
What are your hours, Dr. Henson?
Yeah, I get that a lot. So Kim, I am here in my clinic Monday afternoons, and then Tuesday and Thursday the whole day from about 9 to 5:30. Yeah. And yeah, I'm just here right in Afton, right next to B&H.
So looking at my most recent blood work, my neutrophils are high, 65.
Yep.
Do you think at this point, and they're the only one that's really far off the
The ranges.
yeah, the lymph was a little bit low, but not substantially. I guess at this point, because of being 10 points high on the neutrophils, I guess would you suggest to come in, see you, and see what you need to do?
Yeah, we absolutely could. I mean, that would suggest a bacterial infection, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'd be looking at there. And I didn't put it on there, but one thing that can drive down the lymphocytes is an active acute infection. So if we've got a new infection, that'll drive down the lymphocytes because the neutrophils went up. It's all percentages, right? So it always is going to add up to 100%. So if one goes up, something has to go down somewhere. So that would be why I would suspect that lymphocytes might be a little on the lower end. But yeah, bacterial is what we think there, Tyson. And then, yeah, protocols for that are usually pretty simple if it's not a real, big chronic thing going on.
Sure. I guess my main thing would be, is that far enough off to be concerned about?
If I saw that in my blood work, I'd be addressing it.
Okay.
Because that's even 65 is technically even out of their range.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even high for the lab range. So yeah, I would be addressing it. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to address it aggressively, right? If you're not having major symptoms, then me personally, I would get myself on, some sort of antimicrobial, antibacterial for a little bit just to make sure I clear that thing up.
Right.
Yours
I guess I'm trying to get my RA basically.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if this could be related to that or not.
And it may just be that you had a little stomach bug when you went in.
That's true.
Maybe a little, because
June.
With the neutrophils in that, we think more acute infection. Not it can be chronic as well, but yeah, it could just be you had a little runny nose when you went in, yeah. So if there's not major symptoms, like I said, I would still address it, but you probably wouldn't have to be too aggressive with it.
So maybe another set of blood work more recently could give me an idea whether it's still there or not.
Yeah, it could. I mean, we know it was there. The neutrophils were high. It's there, but yeah, like I say, if you're not having a bunch of symptoms, then not too much to worry about. Again, I would be taking I can't remember, like a golden thread or something to just make sure I clear it out, or some vitamin C even.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is golden thread the same as goldenrod?
I am not familiar with goldenrod, so I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they look similar. Let's see. There's a bunch of, there's like golden thread, golden seal, golden.
Oh, sorry. It was golden seal I was thinking of, not goldenrod. Golden seal was what I was thinking of.
Yeah, golden seal and golden thread are different.
Oh, okay.
Similar though. I think they're both pretty antimicrobial. I don't use golden seal as much, but yeah, I think they're fairly similar.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that. Anyone else have any questions for me? Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this at least gives you a starting point when you look at your blood work. I'm going to do more of these and I'm going to figure out the technical issues. But I want to do more on so people can look at their thyroid, look at their cholesterol, all these other markers. And so people can really read their own blood work. That really is one of my goals.
This is very helpful. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that, Kim. Thank you. I'm glad it was.
Yeah, I think my husband and I will be in for some consults.
Great. I will be here. And if we need to get blood work, I am in the process of getting that worked out with Sterling, where I can send people to get blood drawn for inexpensive prices, or if I don't go through insurance myself, but we can work out insurances too. So I will, like I said, I will email the recording of this to everyone. I will fix my slides and I will email the slides as well. I probably won't get that done until tomorrow or Friday. So look for that. If you don't see it, it's because I am slacking and just email me and say, hey, Dr. Hutzman, get your stuff done. But no, I will get this sent out in the next day or two. And then, yeah, there's my contact info on the screen there. Anyone wants to contact me, I love connecting with people and helping where I can. So I appreciate you guys joining with me tonight. And I guess I will close it there. I hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you so much for the information.
Yeah,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to meet you, Kim. And thanks for hopping in, Tyson and Peter and Bob. All right. Everyone have a good evening.
You.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.